Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Rundi, we got a couple of small things to talk about here. Nothing major going on in the league as of right now. I guess there's a couple things you could say that are pretty major. One of them we've already touched on a bit. But do you have anything in particular you want to start with that we've got on the docket here?
Yes, I do. We didn't talk about it last week prior to it happening, but we'll talk about it now. Joe Thornton officially had his number 19 retired by the San Jose Sharks. It was a fantastic, ceremony. Hearing all the speeches from the different guys, and then getting the big long speech by Joe Thornton. It was just fantastic. As a Sharks fan that kind of grew up, Joe Thornton was the guy in San Jose. It was just such a cool moment to see him really get honored and just see his love and passion for the game and how he continues. Even though he's no longer playing, he's still a part of the organization and all the stuff he's doing for the younger players there. And you just can't help but love a guy like that. Really, his personality is really just one of a kind in this league.
Absolutely, and he's one of those guys. Like, obviously, all NHL players fucking love hockey, but like, he's one of those guys that I hold like right beside a guy like Sidney Crosby for how much he just outwardly fucking loves the game. Like, if the NHL folded tomorrow, he'd just find a rink and go practice with whoever's there. Like, he just loves the sport.
He would go to the rink on off days just to shower there. He would literally go there just to take a shower, just because he couldn't go one day without being at the rink. Like, that's just a hockey guy through and through that just wants to always be around the game. And I don't exactly. I mean, he doesn't have an official role with San Jose yet. They've just referred that he's the director of vibes there, which I think is the perfect role for him. But I do fully expect that sometime in the near future here, he'll have an actual official role with the team in whatever capacity that is.
Yeah, and especially when they announced that Macklin Celebrini was going to be living with him, I thought it was really funny because I was like, he's just kind of getting to rent Joe Thornton's house while Thornton goes and like basically lives at the arena. Like, I wouldn't doubt it if Celebrini was almost there more often.
I wouldn't be shocked by that either, honestly.
But yeah.
So congrats to Joe Thornton on having number 19 retired by the Sharks. I believe I remember exactly what, I don't think it was 19, whatever number he wore in the OHL with the Sioux Greyhounds was also retired. Like 2 years ago or something. So
yeah,
he's got his banner hanging in two different arenas now.
Yeah, and he did say that to Tomas Hertl, if you score 4 goals, I'd still do it.
Damn straight, you got to stand on that. You make a statement like that, you got to stand on that, and as he should. But moving forward, Sidney Crosby. We can talk about Sid again here. Finally reached 600 career goals, doing so against, I think it was Utah, right?
Yes,
I believe it was Utah. And a 6-1 loss. So Crosby gets goal number 600, but Penguins again just get throttled. Not good times in Pittsburgh. A lot of guys struggling, team struggling. What do the Penguins do here? What do you think the Penguins do? Like, just nothing's going right for them aside from really Crosby and Malkin trying to carry the dead weight of the team.
Yeah, and Crosby finally got 600. Not for lack of trying. He hit at least 2 really solid posts in that game against Tampa when he was at 599. He was so close. But yeah, their team, their defense is just not good, and their goaltending can be good, but it's insanely inconsistent. I'm not even sure where you start. I think it's one of those teams you have to pick a direction, which is almost impossible for them because they know they have to pick rebuild, but they can't because they have Crosby. So their hands are kind of tied. But Yeah, I mean, we do actually have the only trade to talk about on this episode here does involve Pittsburgh, and I actually really like it for them. Uh, Nashville Predators trade Philip Tomasino to Pittsburgh in exchange for a 2027 fourth round pick. That's the Rangers pick. Uh, Philip Tomasino was picked 24th overall in the 2019 draft by Nashville. Uh, he's still young and a good player. Like, he's not consistently getting to play in the NHL, but uh, for a fourth round pick 3 years away, that's, you know, next to free for this guy. And, you know, he's played
It's a low
159
risk, high
games.
reward for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, like 159 games, 71 points in those. He's he's a little under half a point a game player in the games he's got in. He's only 23 years old. Like, I don't think he's done by any means. Like,
So
yeah,
I haven't
it's a
really got
great
to
gamble.
watch Tomasino much. With first of all, totally agree. I think this is a nice move for Pittsburgh, whether it pans out or it doesn't. Again, it's just low risk, high reward for them. So like, why not at this point? Um, I I didn't really get to watch. Oh, I haven't, and I never really did watch many Nashville games when Tomasino was playing. So I don't really know too much about his game. But from what I've kind of been able to find, at least, is it's basically his skating is kind of the area of concern with him. It's not really where Nashville wanted it to be in terms of being a full time NHL player. So it kind of sounds like that's why they did what they did to move on from him. Uh, and if I can find it here, it is now. Where did I put it here? Hold the phone,
Where'd you
because I know I
where'd
have
you
it
put
here.
the info?
It's more bad stuff for Nashville, and why not? Like that's the reoccurring theme is how horrendous Nashville is. So again, this is kind of something I talked about last week. When you've got a team in a position that was kind of more going towards kind of through a rebuild or a retool or something, and you bring in a new general manager, which is exactly what Nashville did, bringing in Barry Trotz. Those GMs tend to kind of weed out some of the prospects and young guys that the former GM and their group kind of brought in. And again, we're seeing it completely here with Nashville. Obviously, Eli Tolvanen, he was their 2017 first round pick. They lost him on waivers to Seattle. That was David Poile. That was not Barry Trotz. But Barry Trotz did trade away their 2020 first round pick in Yaroslav Askarov to San Jose. And then a couple weeks ago, their 2016, first round pick, Dante Fabro, was put on waivers, claimed by Columbus. With more ice time and bigger responsibility, he's been thriving in Columbus so far. He looks like a great pickup for the Blue Jackets there.
Yeah.
And then their 2019 first round pick, Tomasino, trade to Pittsburgh. So, so far, Barry Trotz, they're 20. I mean, 20. Askarov, they had to trade. Like, you have Saros. Askarov was like, I don't want to be a backup behind him for 8 years. So you kind of had to do that. But in the span of, 2 weeks, your 2016 first round pick and your 2019 are both out the door.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's
a
kind
really
of the
good
way it
point.
goes when you bring in a new GM. They don't really hold that same love to younger players and prospects that the former GM did. So, but that's tough. Two first round picks and both gone in the span of 2 weeks again, and you have a fourth round pick to show for it.
I
And
was gonna
you look
say,
you look at
honestly, like,
Tolvanen. Tolvanen wasn't Barry Trotz, but Tolvanen's been thriving in Seattle. So far, really haven't. We only got to see Askarov one game in the NHL with the Sharks. Look good, dominating the AHL. Dante Fabro, he's looking really good with Columbus. So, like, the way it's going, Tomasino could turn out to be a really good player with Pittsburgh, especially with how weak their roster is. You give him the chance to play with a Crosby or Malkin.
yeah, maybe, Crosby gives
He's
him the
already
kick in
put
the
up
butt he
decent
needs to
numbers.
learn how to
Yeah,
skate better. Like, yeah,
yeah.
he could
Like
definitely be huge for them.
it could look like another one where it's like, again, Nashville moves on from a young player when maybe you just had to tap into something and give him a bit more of a chance or a bigger role, because Yeah, I mean Dante Fabro is. I've just been very impressed with him on Columbus so far.
Yeah. One of my biggest things is just like they're just like waving and giving these guys away for 3-year away 4th-round picks. Like, you're telling me a
Yeah.
team wouldn't have given you a this year 3rd-round pick at least? Like, borderline a second? Like, I feel like this guy has some upside. Like, a lot of these moves, they don't even feel like they saw was out there. They're just like, we're done trying with Tomasino. Just whoever will answer the phone. Like,
Yeah,
like
pretty
almost like
much.
the
Yeah.
Jake Wallman deal is just, we decided we don't want this guy, ship him. And it's kind of confusing to watch. Like, nobody would have paid something for Dante Fabro. Like, he's a good NHL player.
Also worth noting, Jake Wallman only played 18 games so far with San Jose, 11 assists. That's more than he's had in any previous season in the NHL so far. So
Wild.
just throwing that out there. He's having a hell of a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nashville. I don't. I'm trying to root for them, but I'm just sitting here like I don't even know what they do at this point.
Yeah. And I do think they can turn it around. Their guys, like, they definitely have the talent to be a playoff team. That's why so many people pick them to be a playoff team. Like, they just need to be able to be a cohesive unit and put it together. They just brought in so many big guys at once that all came from different teams. Just like none of them have chemistry. Like, it's insane watching them. They're all making these great plays, and then they go to make the pass, and the guy's he just completely misread the play, and the guy's in a wrong spot, or the guy passing is looking in the wrong spot. Like, they just don't seem to know what each other is doing. Like, uh, fuck, who's their goal scorer? Forsberg and Yossi. Like, they still look great out there. They know where each other's gonna be. They're like making plays, but they just haven't figured it out with the other talent they have now. And don't I don't know how in the middle of the season you kind of build that, other than just like hitting your head against the wall, playing the games, practice, and
So
eventually it happens. But
that's why, obviously, can't be Jim Montgomery, which we'll get into. But that's kind of why last week I suggested making a coaching change. I think Andrew
yeah,
Brunette is a fantastic coach, and I think firing him isn't a reflection of he was a bad coach or mishandled the team. It's literally just you have to change something up, and if you have so many talented players and none of them are on the right page, bring in a new coach that can implement something that everyone has to get on the same page with, right? Because you have your star players like your Forsberg, your Yossi, your O'Reilly, etc., that were kind of already under this game plan with Brunette. But now you're bringing in so many other guys into the mix, like Stamkos, Marchessault, Brady Shea, among others, where now they're trying to get into the system, and it's not really working. And again, I don't think that's Brunette's fault one bit, but I think you bring in another coach and have him be like, all right, you know what, this is our game plan, this is what we're doing, and everybody's got to get on that same page. So everybody's now back at square one together, starting over. And I think, again, I don't think that solves all of Nashville's problems, but I definitely think it could help kind of start to get them in the right direction. Because again, like
yeah,
we're almost into December. We can't keep sitting here and being like, oh, eventually they'll turn it around. Eventually, like it's you're 29th in the league right now,
yeah,
and the way they're going, I don't want to be here in a month being like, oh, the Preds are going to turn. It's like they got to figure it out soon here. They
yeah,
got to start getting it going.
yeah. Like, they have the talent. Like, their second D line is Brady Shea and Alexander Carrier. Like, they've got some
Yes,
decent
yeah, like
depth.
skill isn't the issue on this team. Like
Yeah,
there's no lack of skill in this team. It's one of the deeper forward cores. They've got top end talent in terms of forwards, defensemen, and in goaltending.
a borderline Vesna candidate goaltending so far to start the year. UC Saros has been outstanding for them. Like, look at every time I look at his stats, it's like he saved 6 goals above expected in his last 4 games. He's got a 930 and he's 3-5-1. Like, he's putting up great individual stats. The team just can't
It,
win.
it's 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 the 5-on-5 scoring That kills them. Penalty kill, first in the league. Penalty minutes, 26. So they're on the penalty kill a lot, yet they still have the best penalty kill in the league. Power play, 9th in the league. Shots on goal, they're averaging 30 shots on goal. That's tied for 13th. Face off, they're 4th in the league at 53.3. But then it's goals, 2.38. That's 29th in the league. And then shooting percentage, 7.9, 32nd, dead last in the league. It's just the goal scoring is just not there. 5-on-5 at least. The power play is doing fine. If you're you're 9th in the league, you're 22.7%. That's fine. Maybe could be a little bit better given the talent they have, but it's still very good numbers. They can't score 5-on-5. That's really what's killing them.
They really
got to figure that out.
They really brought that in with Stamkos, and we kind of shifted out. Like, our power play has been the worst it's been in several years for Tampa Bay, but we're so much better 5-on-5, which is a nice trade-off, but also, we have a lot of talent that can't score on the power play. Meanwhile, they've got the exact opposite thing going on. And it sucks because I feel like they do need to change up the size of shaking up the head coach, but all those things you were listing, I attribute a lot of that to Andrew Brunette as the head coach. The fact that they have the best penalty kill and one of the better power plays, between those two things, the fact that they take some of the most penalties in the league is no accident. He deploys his guys at the right time to take opportune penalties because, unfortunately, we all know that the refs game manage. And if you take a penalty when you know you can kill it off so that later on you get a better power play chance, that's just gamesmanship right there.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think they need, something's got to shake them up.
Something has to change. You have to do something. And as far as it sounds, they're not even considering, at least as of right now, they're not even considering trading any of their 3 first-round picks that they currently hold to improve the team or anything. So, and again, this 4th-round pick in 2027, that doesn't help you. I don't know. I'm just kind of sitting here the only thing you can really do then is make a coaching change, which again, it sucks because I think they do have a very good head coach actually, but again, your window to win is 3 to 4 years. You've got that amount of time to really kind of get it done with this core. So you got to try and figure something out if you're Barry Trotz, and unfortunately, time is not on your side. You got to figure it out sooner rather than later here. Because as incredible as Nashville's run was last year, I don't see another U2 concert getting canceled and they go on an incredible run.
Yeah. They'd be hard pressed to be able to do something like that again. Just because I have it up here as well. UC Saros currently sits 3rd in the league in goals saved above expected at 9. The other 2 goalies above him are Joey Decord and Lucas Dostal at 11 and 14. They're both balling out as well. With how bad they've been 5-on-5, they're getting the goaltending. It's crazy how many things we've listed they're doing great at. All the special teams, face-offs, goaltending, it's literally just 5v5. A lot of teams would say that about themselves, and you think they're exaggerating, and they probably are. They are not in Nashville.
And it is worth noting a lot of the power play and penalty kill is attributed to the assistant coaches who kind of manage a lot of that stuff. So, even if you're Nashville, you can make a head coaching change, but keep your assistant coaches on because they're doing their job. They're holding up to their end by, producing a great penalty kill and a great power play. Maybe you just need to switch something up to get a head coach in there that can, help this team figure it out 5-on-5 because that's where they're getting killed right now.
Yeah.
And I would like to see this team because this is a fun team to cheer for, especially with the guys they have. And it's kind of a veteran team. It'd be cool to see this team actually go on a real run. And I would like to see what this team could do in the playoffs, given the opportunity. But got to figure something out.
Yeah, they've got at least 2 Conn Smythe winners in Jonathan Marchessault and Ryan O'Reilly. They've got a nasty team, man. They should they should not be. Where are they in the standings? They should not be 1 point ahead of the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah.
They're tied with the Sharks, and that's while the Sharks are currently on a 3-game losing streak, which means the Sharks had to have been ahead of them. Like,
yeah,
that's tough.
Speaking though of Philip Tomasino and his move as a former first round pick, there are a couple young former first round picks who are apparently on the trade market. So I'm going to pick your brain and get your thoughts on these three guys here.
All right.
First one, we already know that the Columbus Blue Jackets are currently taking offers on David Jiricek. It is really starting to sound like he will get moved at some point. You know, we've kind of talked about him before. So we don't need to dive too deep in this one. But the other two are pretty interesting ones. Neither have necessarily been confirmed that, you know, they're going to be traded, the team's looking to. But it sounds like the team is open to moving them should they get the right offer.
Yeah.
The first one is Minnesota, Marco Rossi.
Really?
Yeah. It sounds like they're open to potentially moving him. Minnesota Wild currently second in the league right now with a record of 13-3-4. Marco Rossi has had stints on the first line at center in 20 games this season, 6 goals, 11 assists for 17 points.
Who reported this, man? They got a 23-year-old who's just under a point per game. He's a +8. Like, it's not all assists either. He's got 6 goals. Like, he put up 40 points last year. He's clearly improving. Like, what about this guy do they not like?
So the only thing I can think of for why they may, and it doesn't sound like they're actively trying to trade him, but it sounds like, again, you know, if they get a legit offer for him, that they'd be open to moving him. Kind of what I'm thinking, at least, for why. First of all, he is 5'9", 180 pounds, so he is, you know, on the smaller side, and you know, regular season, that's fine. Sometimes you tend to see those smaller players kind of disappear in the playoffs a bit just because of the physicality ramping up. Unfortunately, haven't gotten the opportunity really to really see Rossi in the playoffs, and he's on the last year of his contract. And Minnesota is kind of in a weird spot because, like, they don't have a lot of money right now, but they do have a lot of money coming off the books after this year from Parise and Suter. But you got to be saving a lot of money for Kaprizov for when he's eligible for an extension this summer. So
yeah,
I'm thinking it's probably literally just a money thing.
Yeah, because Kaprizov is a non-negotiable. We have to get him back, and we want to get him back for probably 8 years. Like,
yeah,
if he had,
and it's going to be a hefty contract.
He's already the best player in franchise history for Minnesota. I thought about saying it in the past few years, and at this point, I'm very confident in saying it.
Yeah,
like, they've never had a guy like this, and
they've had guys that, you know, maybe have a bit of more identity with the team, but in terms of just overall skill and just, you know, just a fantastic player, he's by far the best player they've had in their franchise history, and I don't think anyone would disagree with you on that.
Yeah, and if he says, I'll stay for 8 years if you give me 13 mil, I think you sign it right there. I don't think you go home and wait. Like,
yeah,
just give the guy the money. Somebody wants to stay in Minnesota. You know, they're not exactly a Canadian market, but, you know, they don't always have guys sticking around incredibly long term, unless you sign them to 15 years, I guess. But
yeah,
I don't know, man. Like, I really think they could find the money elsewhere. They got Eriksson Ek way under market value. Boldy probably even more under market value, and they got him for another 6 years. Like, they're gonna have that money coming off the books. Like,
they do have a lot of good young up and coming prospects too, and I think I don't know for sure, but
you
maybe
got good guys
they feel
now.
comfortable.
Rossi's
maybe
good
they feel
now.
I know, but maybe they feel comfortable that those guys can kind of step in. And, you know, maybe they're just sitting here like, you know, do we re-sign Rossi and move out one of our, you know, other prospects coming up, and then, you know, if they pop off, it's like shit sucks best, or maybe it's just you try and capitalize on Rossi's value now. it's tough to say. Again, it's not like they're actively trying to move him, but if someone gives him an offer,
the idea
they'd be
there, but
open to
like
it.
it feels like one of those situations where sure Marco Rossi's great and all, but this first rounder could be anything. He could even be Marco Rossi. Like this guy's 23 years old, almost a point per game. He's not even playing with Kaprizov full time on that top line. Like I don't know. I'd be locking this guy in for 8 years. He's also an RFA, so they don't have to.
Yeah, I don't know if
worry
I'd go
about
8
walking.
years. I don't know if I'd go 8 years with Rossi yet. I'd be totally open to do a bridge deal and be like, kind of see it maybe on a more consistent. Because let me just pull up his. Because I think this is only his. Is this his second or third full year? It's really only second full year.
This is second full year. Last year was his first full year. 21 goals, 40 points, all 82 games. Like he did that when he's 22. He's almost a point per game now.
But like, what would you give him then? Because that's the thing. Like, are you already looking at it? Like, I would give him an 8-year deal at 7.5.
I would take that. I would definitely take that if I was the Wild. Like, I know it's funny because a lot of people have differing opinions on when to offer the long-term contract, right? Like, because people always point to this one, and this is what they say. They always say Jack Hughes contract. When that was signed, everyone thought they were crazy. As the second they signed it, I said they just got a fucking steal. Like I'm not trying to sound like a hockey hipster.
But that's very different though. Like that's a former first overall pick.
No, and absolutely.
It would be different if it was any other team than Minnesota. For me, that's why I would do the bridge deal, because Minnesota's literally finally just getting out of cap hell. They've been in cap hell for the last 10 plus years. They're finally just about to get out of it. Do you like? So you're sitting there like, do they take the risk on Ross to potentially throw themselves right back into it? And now, especially consider like they're second in the league with 15 mil of dead cap space.
Exactly.
Like that's what's so impressive about it. Like if you can
Rossi
take that 15 mil and put it to certain areas, like I don't know.
That's all dead cap though, and you only have to use half of it to get a round point per game player who is 23. He's probably only going to improve. Like,
let's not act like he's a career point per. Like he is having a terrific year, but
I always figured he'd probably end up around there, or at least that's what they wanted him to. Like,
like
I wouldn't be surprised if he had
8
seasons in a row with 70 plus points. Health.
That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. But I think if you're Minnesota, I think you just go, 2-year bridge deal. Wait till you for sure got the Kaprizov situation handled, because that like has to be their number one priority, is making sure you can get him. Get him locked in.
Yeah,
on a long term.
I don't think anything reasonable, obviously, that they would give Rossi would put them in jeopardy with that. Like, I think
that's why I'm saying bridge deal, because if you go that long-term deal, that's when you're getting up into that probably, 7.5 plus mil range.
But
like he's not going to take an Eriksson Ek deal, because he's outperforming.
But 7.5, I don't think puts the squeeze on enough that Kaprizov's is in jeopardy. And even if it is, sorry to some of the boys, but like, hey, if it comes between we got to trade away the last year of Zuccarello or extend Kaprizov, yeah, Zuccarello, thanks for your service, you're gone. Like, they
100%, yeah.
I don't know. A lot of people are not a fan, and like I know this is kind of a hot topic with hockey fans because some people are very strong about it, and there's people on both sides about giving these young guys right off their ELCs that 8-year extension, that Jack Hughes type deal where right away they get the long term. And I know Dallas had quite a few of them, and a lot of people were kind of wondering how that would end up. And like, I've always been a fan of it as long as the guy has at least like a year and a half of showing he can do it. And of course the team has to, believe in the guy. But, a lot of people are like, so the first year in his ELC, he played 20 games, and then he played 2 years and was fine. So they're like, we want to see more. We want that bridge deal. But if I were a GM, I'd be so much more willing to risk that than risking a Matthew Tkachuk situation. And, Boldy's not a guy who's...
The Matthew Tkachuk one is tough because, remember, when it first happened, the unanimous consensus around the league was the Flames won that deal. Like, now it looks like a bad deal for them, but at the time,
yeah,
no
absolutely.
one could have ever predicted Jonathan Huberdeau to just give up on, yeah.
Just not translate it.
Yeah. Like, you could, because Marco Rossi, he's never going to be a $10 million
trade.
player.
Just like, it would have been nice if they just extended him off of his ELC instead of the bridge deal, and then he ended up wanting out.
Yeah, I think if you're just Minnesota, I think you just find a bridge deal for Rossi. You lock in Kaprizov. You then use that little extra money that you're getting to build up a better team. Because like this is a team that, again, they're second in the league with 15 million dead cap space. You could go all in next year if you want. You give Rossi a nice, like a 2-year bridge deal, $4 million per year. July 1st, you lock in Kaprizov on his 8-year deal and be like, hey, sign this 8-year deal, and then look at what we're going to be doing, right here, free agency, with all this money that's opened up now. And like, in the next 2 years, you get Rossi on a cheaper deal, you bring in a bit more talent, you go all in. Like this Minnesota team, like, they quickly went from kind of middle of the pack to like, next 2 years they should be all in. Like, they should be all in trying to win.
Yeah, they have made some incredible deals. I know people are kind of trying to figure out what the hell they were doing with the Fiala trade. It turns out Brock Faber is a freaking stud, and they have him for the next 9 years now. Like, they turned it around real fast. They've got very timely help from a lot of guys that people wouldn't have expected. Freddie Gaudreau has just like quietly been incredible for them for quite a while. Like, not an all-star, but like, he's been very much outperforming his $2 million contract. Like, they've had a lot of guys really break out, and like, they would be a very exciting team to watch go on a playoff run.
Jacob Middleton is another guy. He was, an AHLer playing on a dog shit San Jose team. Minnesota gets him. What did he do? Last year, he had 25 points in 80 games. This year, playing with Brock Faber, 11 points in 20 games. He's a plus 16. Like, they're grabbing guys and they're making them into studs, and that's what Minnesota's doing. And I don't think you would try and rush anything. I think that you just kind of try and stay on the path you're on, because it's very clearly been working. And again, the fact you're second in the league and you are getting a massive gift in having 15 million open up off the books next year, on top of, if the salary cap goes up, that on top of it,
which
they've got the chance to really do some special things.
There's been reports of the NHLPA talking to the NHL, trying to see if they can get it to go up $9 million next season. Wow. I'm pretty sure Bettman has since shut that down, because it's only allowed to go up a certain percentage, and they need to ask. Yeah. If
that is the case.
Yeah. Bettman has since said it's not. I don't really trust him, but I don't think it'll go up that much, because it can only go up, I think it's 4.5% of the cap each year, and then any more than that, it can go up, but they have to, like, both sides have to agree, and the league is making enough money that it could go up by that much. But even if they get like the exemption to that rule, I think it would probably more likely be, closer to 6 or something. Between that 15 mil in Parise and Suter, and then a 9 mil on top of it, though, that would be insane. Like, to just get all of that at once.
Yeah. Moving from Minnesota, there is. Do you have one more thing?
Yeah, I just have one question about Minnesota for you. Do you think Joel Eriksson Ek should be their first line center of the future going forward?
No.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Fantastic player, but when you're talking about first line centers, no.
Yeah.
Again, hell of a player.
He
love him.
There, but
would take him on my team any day, but.
Yeah. He's like, I could easily see him on a Stanley Cup winning team as an incredible second line center. But
You could even still give him first power play time if you want.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's going to be out there in the penalty kill. But, again, with Kaprizov, I think there's just, other guys that you'd maybe want in that role that would thrive more from playing the guy like Kaprizov and could potentially even elevate Kaprizov even more because that's your driving forces. Kaprizov is, the Minnesota Wild. Really.
Yeah. I don't know if we've even mentioned it yet, but like honestly, like he's getting a lot of talk right now about like Hart Trophy consideration at the moment. Like,
yeah, he's my favorite for the Hart right now.
Like him and Cale Makar, I think, are the two front runners at the moment. It sounds like. And
Makar is tough because like you really could go any of the bunch. Like you could make a realistic argument for McKinnon, Rantanen, or Makar, which is the exact reason why I have Kaprizov as my number one because he's kind of the lone standout from his team.
Yeah.
There's not multiple guys like, well, it could be this guy on this team, could be this guy. It's like,
yeah,
Kaprizov's the only guy on Minnesota that
I think
could
people
even
are just
think to mention.
Yeah, I think people are just saying Makar because obviously all three of them are scoring at an insane pace right now. But Makar's the defenseman, so he's playing 30 minutes a night, helping out defensively and scoring like crazy. So people are they really latch onto that. It is always weird when like how do you even do that for Hart Trophy voting? If back when Edmonton had absolutely zero support, no help, it's just McDavid and Draisaitl. If they're the two best guys in the league, it's like, can you give one of them the Hart? Like, I think so, but like it's weird because like have we ever had a team have the first and second placing in Hart Trophy voting on the same team?
Like, off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
Like, if it has happened, it was probably back on like Gretzky's Oilers or the Penguins with Lemieux or something. Like,
I'm actually not too sure on that. I'd have to do a little bit of homework to find that out.
Yeah, maybe we'll look for the next episode.
And then the last guy again that potentially could be a player getting moved. This one does make kind of sense to me. Josh Norris of the Ottawa Senators.
Interesting.
That is one that again, like it's not like Ottawa sitting there like, oh, we're for sure moving him, but it's one that makes sense. A guy that's great player, but has kind of struggled to stay healthy over the past 2 seasons. Has stayed healthy so far this year, and I think really it kind of comes down to just Norris is on a big contract right now. You're unsure of again, can you stay healthy for multiple years on end? And you've got a guy like Shane Pinto, who's down on the third line that, if given the opportunity, we've seen he can really kind of shine. So I think that's probably kind of really what it just comes down to is opening up room for Shane Pinto to kind of be your second line center behind Tim Stützle for whatever this team's future is in the direction that they're going.
Yeah, this one definitely feels a little more complicated than the last one, but yeah, so Josh Norris obviously he was a first overall pick in 27 or first round pick, sorry, in 2017. 56 games, but that's in the shortened season, so I think that's all of them. 35 points. He's also a very good goal scorer, which is very nice. 66 in 21-22. Only 8 games in 22-23. He had a big injury. And then 50 games last year and 20 this year. That's probably all of the games for the Sens. So, there's a shortened season in there. So it kind of feels like he's only really missed the one season, and then maybe that injury lingered into the next season. I'm not totally certain, but this one is definitely more weird because he does already have that big extension that we were talking about with Rossi. He's got 6 more years at 50,000 under 8 mil. So he's already got, a big cap hit. He plays good hockey. He scores a lot of goals for him. He's got a lot of minuses here, but they're not massive minuses, and the Senators, so I guess I can't fault him for that. I don't know.
If
Like,
I was Ottawa,
I guess they're doing the right thing and at least taking offers because he shouldn't be nailed down. But
if I was Ottawa, I would honestly, I would call up Columbus, and I would see if they're open to just doing a Josh Norris for David Jiricek swap 1-for-1.
that's
Like if I'm looking at Ottawa, let me pull up because it's fucking bad. David Jiricek, obviously right-handed defenseman, super valuable in this league. On the right-hand side on defense, Ottawa, Travis Hamonic on the top pair, Jacob Bernard-Docker on the second pair, and Nick Jensen on the third pair, along with Tyler Clevin also on the third pair. Ottawa needs a right-handed defenseman. David Jiricek fits that bill. I think Jiricek has so much untapped potential that we're not getting to see in Columbus. He is 5 years younger. Like right now, Norris is the better player, more proven. But Jiricek's got 5 years until he's the age Josh Norris is now. I think Josh Norris could be a good fit with Columbus. I don't know if Columbus necessarily needs him, but he's a proven goal scorer. It can definitely help out Columbus's offense. And, you know, you're losing Jiricek, but you're still getting a hell of a player in Norris who, if you want to flip him down the line, you can. I think it's a deal that could it would help out Columbus now, most definitely.
Yeah.
You know, just you're getting a proven goal scorer, a guy who is already tucked 35 in a season before. Does he fit long term? I don't know. Does he have to? No, because again, you have that luxury that you could move him. But for Ottawa, you know, if you're moving out Josh Norris and the reason is for Shane Pinto to kind of be your second line center, you're not going to get that value in terms of like in terms of a forward. Could they go and try and just ask for a first round pick because you're either losing a first round pick this year, next year, because of the whole Evgeny Dadonov, you know, contract clause that was withheld from Vegas? Yeah, you could. Does a first round pick help you when you're already kind of stating you're trying to win now and Claude Giroux ain't getting any younger? No. So why not get David Jiricek and watch him blossom into a terrific player and then just rock a top pair of Jake Sanderson and David Jiricek for the next 15 years.
Yeah, that's a very interesting proposal there. Like I keep going back and forth being like it's unfair, and then I can't even really decide who it's unfair for. Like you know,
if anything, I would say it is unfair for Columbus.
It depends.
Just because Jiricek's 5 years younger, and I think he's gonna, you know, I think if as long as he gets off Columbus, he's gonna develop into a phenomenal defenseman. But he can't do that on Columbus. So unfortunately for Columbus, you're probably gonna lose a David Jiricek trade. That's just the unfortunate circumstances of it.
I mean,
Josh
I really
Norris
like him,
isn't a bad player. He's
like,
not a bad player
is
at
he
all.
slated to be that good?
I'm very high on David Jiricek, and like he's you know, only 2 years ago he was drafted 6 overall. He's, you know, first year after he was drafted, he only played 4 games with Columbus, but coming over from Czechia, again as an 18-year-old, 55 games in the AHL, 38 points. The following year, played 29 games in the AHL, 19 points. So he was on a better point per game pace. Well, actually, no, a little bit. Well, around the same.
Probably
maybe just a tad higher. And then this year, like he's only played 6 games for the Blue Jackets, 1 assist. He's only played 2 games in the AHL. He's got a goal and assist, 2 points. He's just not being given the opportunities, really. And he's just, you know, kind of sick of it. And again, right-handed. He's 6'4", 205 pounds.
Yeah.
This guy's just got all the potential, and Columbus just isn't. Especially now with Dante Fabro.
Yeah, just every time he comes up to the NHL, he just can't really make it work enough for him to stay in the lineup.
But it's not even like he's playing bad, though. I just don't think Columbus is utilizing him properly, really, because they sure as hell are in the AHL.
I just don't know how. It looks like he's kind of been bad in the NHL so far, which obviously he'd get better with more minutes, but you know they got some decent defensemen in Columbus that, you know, he kind of has to earn his spot. He doesn't just get to walk onto the team. And yeah, I really don't know. The thing that makes it so complicated for me is that it depends what Columbus thinks of Josh Norris's cap hit, really. Like, because I don't think Ottawa would
I don't think
retain
Columbus should be worried about
in a deal of this.
about money right now.
Well, I think you have to when it's going for the next 6 years.
But what is it? What is he at again?
Very slightly under 8 mil.
Oh,
7.95.
okay. Actually, yeah, I thought he was down around 6.5. Okay, yeah, that's actually pretty brutal. That's
Yeah, like
actually not
it's
it. Yeah. But again, like if it's a guy who's going to be tucking, 30 plus goals, yeah, I'm okay with that.
I feel
But
like
again,
they
the
would
big
look
thing
at
is, can
this
he stay healthy? That is the
exactly.
biggest question.
I do wonder if they would look at this deal and think they wouldn't be able to help but think about Laine. Man, this guy could tuck goals. He might be able to tuck 40 for us. Can he be healthy? Can he do it here? Like,
So, if you're Columbus, realistically, you know, if you value David Jiricek more, I don't blame you. I 100% do. You could go the route of, David Jiricek for Josh Norris and maybe a second, another prospect, and then if Josh Norris stays healthy, he's still balling out come trade deadline. Do what San Jose did. Retain, 1.1 mil, 1.2 mil for the next 6 years. You drop Norris down to about a 6.7, 6.8 cap hit for the remainder of this season, next 5 years after that. And maybe you get a return that San Jose did. You get a first and another former first round pick prospect or something.
interesting.
Which they easily could do. Would they do it? Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know, but there would be options. I think that, especially with a team like Columbus and with the salary cap going up, retaining 1.1 for the next 5 years or 1 mil, like, it's not going to kill you.
No, I think it's more about taking up that retention slot so that you can't ever use it in the future until that contract is out.
Yeah, but if you're a team
You
like
really don't
Columbus
see
where
you really don't
you're
see teams
trying to come
retain
out of
for on those. Like
no,
San
but
Jose's
like
pretty
once
much the
you're a
only one.
rebuild, like once you're a winning team, those retention slots don't matter. Like if you're, like if you're a Tampa Bay, how many contracts are they retaining on right now?
Yeah, probably none.
None. How
Maybe
many
one.
is
I don't
Vegas
think so.
retaining on? None. How many is Florida?
But
None. Like
you
you're not using those once you're a contending team, and I think
see
Columbus is starting to ramp up into, maybe not a top contender, but at least contend
they
for a
want to
playoff spot.
start trying to in the next few years.
I would give up a retention slot for 5 years if, I got two grade A pieces to bring in.
Yeah. I'm just
Especially with
thinking.
Columbus's
I'm also
draft.
thinking of teams like Carolina, and I know I follow them specifically with this because I love the way they do it. At the deadline every year, if they have any cap space left over they're not using, like every season, they just get like 2 or 3 extra third or fourth round picks, and they just retain as the third team on a deal. And it's so goofy to see in the headlines because it's like this team is always in like second in the Metro. Like they're like guaranteed by the deadline they're going to be in the playoffs almost, and they always get extra picks and stuff just retaining money.
I would rather so say Columbus kept that retention slot, and I would still take
one retention slot doesn't kill that.
Yeah, like I would still take a first round pick and a former first round pick over eight third round picks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, not saying like Columbus has to do that, but I think it's an option, and I really do like the potential of David Jiricek on an Ottawa because he would immediately become their best right-handed defenseman, and I think he would get a lot of opportunities that he's just not getting in Columbus.
Yeah.
Like,
let me bounce this one off you, and this one doesn't involve Josh Norris, so it doesn't solve that if they want to get rid of him in Ottawa.
Okay.
But how do you like a 1-for-1 swap of David Jiricek and Carter Yakimchuk? One guy's a bit older. He's a little further along in his development. He's going to the team that's more ready to play. They're both right-handed defensemen. They both look like they're going to be studs. Because, I don't know how much Carter Yakimchuk wants to be a second line, a second deep pair right-handed guy. It's an interesting thought. It's like I think the Blue Jackets would be fine with it because obviously they're comparable players, and Juracek obviously doesn't want to be in Columbus. It's not working there. It's really just, does Ottawa want to do it?
That's tough because they're two very different players. Like they are both right-hand defensemen, but they're different players.
Yeah.
If Yakimchuk pans out, he is, I think, would be a surefire like top on the top power play and quarterbacking it even over Jake Sanderson. If Yakimchuk pans out the way that they're hoping.
Yeah, which he looked incredible in the preseason. He didn't make opening roster, but like in the preseason,
he's looking great with
nice.
the Hitmen this year. His numbers are only going to get better as the Hitmen are now, kind of buyers in the WHL. That's an interesting one. I don't even hate that actually.
Especially if you're,
I guess it really just kind of
play in the NHL
what
for the Sens this year or soon. Like,
yeah, I think it really just I think it really just comes down to how much does Ottawa value Yakimchuk compared to a Juracek.
Yeah,
I don't hate it. If I was Ottawa, would I do it? That's just tough, because I see, David Juracek's just, he's going to be a solid all-around defenseman, but Yakimchuk, is just going to be, if he does pan out, is going to be like just an offensive beast. Yeah.
But they kind of got that
That's
in
an
Sanderson. I don't think Sanderson will be as like offensive only, but like, if they
Sanderson's
pan out,
Sanderson's an elite two-way guy.
Yeah, but like Juracek and Sanderson together, like,
yeah,
would be very nice.
That's a very interesting one, though. That's a very interesting one. That's actually a very good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we'll see if any of these guys get moved in the next few months. Like I do wonder, how often do these teams actually float out like, by the way, guys, this guy is available. Just like, let us know what your offer is. We're not giving them away, but like, let us know. Like,
yeah.
How often are the GMs throwing that around in the fucking 32 GM group chat?
Yeah. That's an interesting one. Yeah. That's so tough because I like both players. I really like Juracek, but I really like the upside of Yakimchuk. Man, like if I was the GM of Ottawa and Columbus sent me that, I would
love.
I would honestly probably just resign. I'd be like, I couldn't make up my mind. I'd be like, I'm done. I'm not cut out for this shit. Because that's a very interesting offer.
Hire an arbitrator, a lawyer. I don't know. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I would just be like, you know what, assistant GM, fucking man, you got to run the show. That's a tough one.
I'm going to free agency
because Juracek's a hell of a player, but Yakimchuk's upside and his potential is, especially offensively, is mesmerizing.
Yeah.
Ooh, all right, you rattled my brain there. Let's move on.
I rattled his brain. So while he's recovering from that, one of the last pieces we have here, Austin Matthews has been out for the past 2 to 3 weeks with an unknown injury, mysterious upper body injury. We don't know what. He has gone to Germany in the past week to get treatment. I know Jack Eichel specifically was really applauding him publicly for that, saying, I love that he's going and getting his whatever his preferred treatment is instead of what the team says, because obviously, the whole fallout with Buffalo and Jack Eichel there. But Matthews is back. He's back in Toronto. He's practiced with the Leafs a couple of times. He's been skating, and it sounds like he is trying to return sometime late this week or next week. So hopefully he gets back soon. No idea what the injury is. Have you noticed this trend of a lot of teams being really secretive about injuries this year? Like, they kind of keep a lid on it, mostly around playoff time before, but like, when Point was out for 2 weeks there, nothing. Like, people speculated lower body, but like, I don't even think the team said that. They just said he's out, and we'll let you know when he's back. We have no idea what Matthews had done in Germany. We don't know where the injury is. We just heard upper body. So I wonder if it's a bit of a changing of how they're announcing injuries.
I wonder if teams do it so, if they want down the line, come around trade deadline time. If they want to shift a guy to LTIR to open up cap space, they can be like, oh, it was kind of like a lingering injury or something. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really not too sure. Because yeah, I have noticed that though. Yeah, there is a lot of guys being kind of very secretive when it comes to that. All right, I've made a decision on your trade offer.
Always going back to it. Let's hear it.
It took me a sec. I was like, you know what? I gotta give a proper answer. If I was Otto, I would say no.
Just like the offensive upside too much.
That and the fact that what did Yakimchuk have? He had like 7 points in 4 preseason games or something. And the biggest thing with Yakimchuk, why because again he was kind of like out of the big 6 defensemen in the draft last year, he was kind of viewed by most scouts as kind of not all scouts, like some were very high on him, but the most kind of had him as like the 5 or 6. Ottawa people thought kind of took a bit of a reach taking him early. It's because of his skating. And they weren't sure that was going to be able to translate to the NHL level. And again, 7 points, 4 preseason games is unreal already. It is preseason, but again, still. But like his skating, what were we talking about in the preseason when he danced through Ottawa and won in overtime? Like he just took the puck and wheeled all the way through. That's not a guy that's
I'm pretty sure it was Marner and Morgan Riley. He burned
2 very good skaters.
Yeah.
So if you're worried that his skating isn't going to translate to the NHL, well, that you shouldn't be worried at that point now. Like again, it is preseason, but again,
he
he's
could
19.
Be another Erik Karlsson for the Senators team. Like he genuinely could be. So
yeah, and if he just works on his skating a little bit more and it gets even better, like I don't think his skating should be a big area of concern. If it is, it can improve. Like he's still a young player. If they tell him, hey, all the tools are in place, can we focus on this here? Can we focus on your edge work or just your speed? What's he going to be like? Yeah, no, like he's going to put the work in.
No, I'm going to practice my slap shot.
And like, yeah, it's just the fact that he made such a presence in the preseason, almost made the team out of camp. I think he's only going to get better, and that offensive upside is just too good to pass up. Yeah, especially with guys that they already have like Tim Stützle, Brady Tkachuk, Batherson, Pinto. Like, you let him run a power play with those guys.
Could be nasty.
Could be very nasty. So,
like,
if I was Ottawa, I would say no.
If there was any interest in Juracek from Ottawa, like I would try and get this done. Like I would be like, do you want like Juracek in a second? Like, because Juracek doesn't want to be there. Like he can be really good. He's not going to be really good for Columbus though. So they do have to move him at some point. And
if I was Columbus, I would actually, you're right. I would look for Yakimchuk
if it was close enough. Like if this can happen.
Yeah, you're right. If I was Columbus, I would actually target Yakimchuk more than Josh Norris, 100%. But if I was Otto, I would say no.
Yeah.
I say you stick with your guy you drafted, the guy you took a reach on. I think because how ballsy is that? You take a reach on a guy and he turns out to just be a fucking stud in the league.
Yeah.
Like you got to get a wheelbarrow to drag him around after that. So, all right, we got one last thing of news, and then I'm gonna put you through the ringer now. After that.
All right, fair enough. Last thing, we talked last episode about the Bruins. Not quite out of nowhere, but to the shock of many, firing Jim Montgomery as the head coach. He has already been hired by the St. Louis Blues, and Drew Bannister is out as the St. Louis Blues head coach.
Do you know what team drafted Drew Bannister back in the day? 1992. I'll give you one guess who drafted him. He played for the Sioux Greyhounds as well, by the way.
Let's go the Senators.
No, Tampa Bay Lightning.
It is the Lightning.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep, I had a 50-50 because I knew that was both of their first year. And I was like, we were just talking about Ottawa. Maybe it's that.
He did play for the Ducks, though. And then he got traded back to Tampa.
Oh, hell yeah. We're bringing the band back together. But I really like this for St. Louis. I think Montgomery's going to do wonders for them. I think he was unemployed there by a team for either 4 or 5 days, which was tied for the shortest amount of time between changing head coaching jobs within a season.
Was it
in
five
NHL
days?
history. It was either 4 or 5.
I think it was 5 days because I'm pretty sure Bruce Cassidy was 6 days and Claude Julien was 7 days.
Like,
So all
they
these
just
coaches,
keep
the
firing
Bruins
these
probably just get
great
picked up
coaches.
right away. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Classic Boston.
And the last one they let go went on to win a cup pretty freaking quick. So could be some good things coming the way of St. Louis because
And
they just
I don't
recently
think Drew
lost their
Bannister is going to
long-term
be.
coach, and
Yeah, I don't think
Montgomery's
Drew
gonna be good.
Bannister is going to be available. I think a team's going to pick him up by the end of the season.
Yeah, I think. I don't
He's been,
know if a team. I guess teams usually fire at some point, so I don't think a team's gonna be like what the Blues just did. Like nobody's gonna fire their current head coach for Drew Bannister, but I do think one of the first teams that does end up firing their head coach will take a look at Drew Bannister.
Nashville. Anytime a coach is available, I'm just going to
Actually,
say Nashville.
you
But
know
like
what?
Drew Bannister,
He
I
could
mean,
be there before New Year's.
yeah, like he spent 2.5 years coaching in the AHL for the uh, Springfield Thunderbirds, the St. Louis Blues AHL team. First year as the official kind of head coach, uh, they lost in the finals. Second year, they lost in the qualifying round. And then he was promoted just last season. He was a midseason replacement to the Blues. He had a record of 30 wins and 19 losses, 5 overtime losses, a win percentage of 0.6.
It's pretty good.
Like that's a like. And then this year, again, Blues haven't been doing good, but it's not a reflection of the coach. It's just a lot of the players that they rely on in terms of their top six aren't lighten it up. We talked about beforehand, their depth isn't out of this world. Their defense is injured, and even when healthy, isn't anything spectacular. So, it kind of sucks for Bannister because I think he actually is showing he is a legit head coach in this league, and I would like to see him get a long term opportunity with the team. But like we said, if you're the Blues and a guy like Jim Montgomery becomes available, how do you not, if you can secure him, you do it. Like you do it 10 out of 10 times. It sucks for Bannister, but
Yeah.
again, like it's Jim Montgomery's available. Of course you're gonna sign him if he wants to come and coach your team, especially given where some of your players are at. Montgomery gets the best out of any player, really. It seems like.
Yeah, and I think he's going to really help out Binnington, especially. If he gets this defense working a bit better, that's just going to improve his play. Like I think this could be huge for them.
Yeah, I really do like it for the Blues. Like again, I've really kind of become a fan of Bannister. Once he kind of got the opportunity with St. Louis, I thought he was a really promising guy. I really kind of thought he was going to be their. Well, he probably would have been their long-term guy for a couple of years at least. It was literally just because Jim Montgomery became available.
Yeah, there's
So
maybe
I
a
don't think I was
handful of other
wrong.
coaches that they would have
Yeah,
done this for. Like
and I
they
think
found him.
again, Bannister's going to get an opportunity somewhere. I don't know where, and I don't think he'll be unemployed for a ridiculous amount of time. He will end up somewhere.
Yeah.
So Nashville, hey, come on, do something, please. Do something.
Do something, man. We're all waiting for it.
Yeah, I like it for the Blues. So happy for Montgomery.
Yeah. You got one last thing here to wrap us up?
I do.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna stress your brain out here a little bit.
No, don't stress me. Okay, do it.
I'm gonna give you 5 players currently in the NHL so far, just based off this season alone. And I do have the player stats. Yeah, so I'm gonna give you 5 players one at a time. I'm gonna give you their stats, and you're gonna have to rank them 1 to 5 based on their current play this season.
Just best to worst, just overall?
Yep.
Okay.
Just based on this season alone, though.
All right.
The first player on the list here for you is Mikko Rantanen. 14 goals, 18 assists for 32 points in 22 games.
It's pretty good. Pretty good player.
Having a hell of a year.
Oh, I think I'm just realizing what's happening. You want me to rank him before I hear all of them.
Yeah, you're blind ranking him. Yeah.
You piece.
This is what you did to me. This is what exactly you just put me through. I had to take a 2-minute breather to get my head on straight.
Well, you know what? Fair enough. I mean, if you're starting with Rantanen, all right. So we're gonna play a little psychology game first. You're a funny guy. I think there's gonna
I
be
appreciate it.
There's gonna be 4 elite players, and I think one of them is gonna be some bottom 6 scrub. You're gonna have a Pat Maroon in there or something.
Okay.
So I'm gonna adjust based on that. Rantanen's had an incredible season. Obviously he is doing it with the help of McKinnon and Makar, but like obviously he can drive his own. I'm gonna go with 2.
2.
2 out of 5.
Mikko Rantanen sitting in the number 2 spot. Next up, Mika Zibanejad. 19 games played so far this season, 4 goals, 10 assists for 14 points.
Mika Zibanejad. He's been all right. He's a goal scorer, so only having 4 goals in 19 games is kind of weird. -10, like the Rangers have not been doing near as good as they should be this year, and he's a little bit a part of that. As far as this season goes, I'm gonna put him 4.
4. All right. Mika going in the number 4 spot. So you have Rantanen 2, Zibanejad 4. Next up.
Man, that's a really wide range in between those guys' seasons that I've put 3 in between.
Next up, Dylan Strome.
Ooh.
6 goals, 22 assists for 28 points in 20 games played this season. Really emerging as Washington's first-line center, consensus first-line center, replacing Nicholas Backstrom.
Yeah.
He's having a hell of a year. He's having a hell of a year.
You're killing me with this one, honestly.
Oh, yeah, that was the whole point of it. That was the whole point of it.
That's the whole point of it. I'm trying to figure out my stance on where I think he should be based on the guys we have out there, and then also I'm coming to the conclusion that it's going to make one of my other picks wrong, I think.
Okay.
Dude, you might think I'm insane. I'm going to put him at 1. I think he's had a better year than I think he's had a better year than Rantanen. Like, is that crazy? 28 points in 20 games. It's less points than Rantanen, but Rantanen's playing with McKinnon Makar. This guy is that for.
This guy's got 22 assists, and he's dishing to Ovi.
Yeah.
Tied for the lead. Actually, I think he was leading the league in goals before he got injured.
Yeah, but Ovi was a fucking bum last year. Like, you can't tell me this guy's assists aren't. I think Ovi's more of a product than Strome, than the other way around at this point in his career this season. Not that Ovi's not been incredible, but I think, it's like how, Makar and McKinnon elevate Rantanen. Rantanen can drive his own line. Like, he's fine on his own, but he's better that way. I think Strome is the McKinnon to the Rantanen of Ovi right now. And on top of those numbers, he's plus 18. He's plus 18 in 20 games. He's probably close to the league lead. Like, he's got to be up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That might be an insane take, but yeah, I'm going to put Strome first, and I'm probably going to regret it based on the next guy, but I guess we'll see.
Maybe. Because next up on the list, Matt Duchene. 11 goals, 12 assists for 23 points in 19 games played.
Matt Duchene. I mean, he's been having a great year. A lot of goals, already up to 11, over a point per game, plus 10. Oh, man. Could you imagine having that on Nashville as well?
Nashville, yeah. Yeah.
You know what? I think for what I have so far, I think that's a pretty safe 3. He's not near Rantanen level, but he's better than Zibanejad. You just got to hope that honestly, I really like my rankings so far, and I'm hoping I was right that there was some bum at the end.
So you thought the last pick was going to be a fourth line bum, a Ryan Reeves type player.
Yeah. Is it the opposite? Is it
Well,
is
you
it the
would
best?
you would be correct.
Oh,
We have a gritty, feisty player here
oh, I thought you were
at
just saying it
the
was
last
gritty.
pick. No, well, we love gritty,
No,
but
gritty's gritty's the one.
this is a gritty, feisty player in your number 5 spot with 9 goals, 12 assists for 21 points in 19 games. You have Brandon Hagel in the
Yeah, I was
5.
good. As soon as you said it, I was like, shit, that's either Hagel or Sorelli, isn't it?
Here you go, Brandon Hagel 5. So you have Dylan Strome 1, Mikko Rantanen 2, Matt Duchene 3, Mika Zibanejad 4, Brandon Hagel 5. How would you rank them knowing those 5 players now, though?
Honestly, I kind of like I considering it was blind, I really like the result. I would have had Zibanejad 5 if I got to
Yeah,
rank them looking at all of
that's
them.
why I like Zibanejad in there because like he's a good player, but he's having a bad year. So like it's crazy to be like he's 5, but if it's based on this season,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think I would have him 5, um Strom 1, Rantanen 2. Probably wrong about that. I'm sure 99% of people have Rantanen above. Uh and then 3 and 4,
is that's a toss up. Like
it's a
both
bit of a
guys are having
toss up.
fantastic years, and I don't think either guy have had are playing with because both guys are playing on like really good teams with elite players, but they're not really getting to
I think
play with those elite
they're
guys.
kind of both second liners. Like,
Like, yeah, Matt Duchene's playing with Tyler Seguin and Mason Marchment, both who are having fantastic seasons. If you want to say that's attributed to Duchene, I'm not going to blame you. Brandon Hagel's playing with Anthony Cirelli and Darren Radish.
oh, is that what we have the lineup set as
Well,
right now?
that's what
That's fun.
that's what it's got. It has right now. Who's on
But
there before? Was it Geeky?
well, so for the first bit of the season, we had Geeky there, and
Oh,
then
okay.
Geeky's been down on the third line for a while, and it's been Paul on the second line. But Paul's been injured for a bit now, so we're throwing him
Oh,
into a
that's
blender.
right.
They
Yeah.
honestly, they've been so good. Like, we're not splitting up Hagel and Sorelli, but they've just basically played with everyone. They've had stints with Kucherov for a few games. They played with Gensel and just like moved Hagel to the right wing. They've played with fucking like I think they played a game with Jesse Ulonen. Uh, if you don't know that
Ooh.
name, it's because nobody knows him. Like, he's just
Montreal fans would. I think he had a sick.
yeah, he
I'm
actually had
pretty
a
sure he
pretty
had a
decent
sick
season though.
shootout goal or something, didn't he? I
Yeah,
remember seeing something. I was like, man, this guy looks legit. And then, yeah,
yeah,
obviously
he's
not.
and recently they've been playing with Mitchell Chafee, who yeah, you know, he's been playing good. He's got a wicked shot. Wish he would use it more. So they've kind of been Swiss Army knifing it, but Homer bias aside, I'd probably go Duchesne 3, Hagel 4. Just looking at the raw numbers, but all things considered, that went pretty well.
Yeah, you know what? I think you did. I think you did a great job.
I called you
Um,
out right at the start. And I was like, I think he's gonna be a funny man. He's gonna put some Al Clutterbuck at 5. It was either that or it was gonna be like Kucherov.
yeah. So
He
we
split the distance with Hagel.
that was the last thing we got. But I just found something here. Uh, we were on the top. We talked about Zibanejad and just Rangers as a whole. Despite having a good record, obviously, apparently not living up to a lot of people's super high expectations they have for him. We're gonna wrap it up here. We won't go too deep in this, but a little bit of Rangers talk. Uh, just seeing this here now. Apparently, in the aftermath of their loss on over the weekend to Edmonton, I think it was like 6-2. The
Yeesh.
Rangers have made it clear that they are open to making moves and shaking up the roster. And apparently, two names that are out there potentially to be shipped out is Chris Kreider and Jacob Trouba. Although apparently, according to Elliot Friedman, other options will be considered.
I mean, they've already tried moving Truba,
Yeah, I was
like
gonna say,
low
like
key,
if
but
Trouba wasn't moved during the off season, you're not moving him during the season.
yeah,
Chris Kreider's an interesting one though.
that's a very interesting one.
I think Chris Kreider is the identity of the Rangers. I think he's.
Yeah,
I'm still surprised he honestly doesn't have the C.
I
Uh,
really thought he was going to be the captaincy. I didn't even think there was much of a debate. I thought maybe
Yeah.
if they really freaking liked Panarin or Fox and just wanted to go with the future captain.
They didn't go with either one of those.
But like, dude, Trouba wasn't even on my radar, man. I don't know if I would have had him top 5.
Rangers are a weird team though. Like it's a skilled team, but Adam Fox, 19 games played. He does have 17 assists, but he has 0 goals.
Oh, I know. I've got him in fantasy.
Chris Kreider, 19 games, he has 9 goals, but he has 0 assists. Zibanejad, we talked about, he's got 14 points in 19 games. You're hoping for a little bit more from him.
Especially
Will
since
Cooley, though,
were assists.
Yeah, Will Cooley, though, kind of coming out of nowhere. He has 15 points in 19 games.
Yeah.
Goaltending, maybe you want Shesterkin to have a little bit better numbers. He still has very good numbers, though. And Jonathan Quick, he's balling out. You don't gotta worry about your goaltending. Like, you're not touching that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, if you're the Rangers, what do you? I don't think you're doing the team any good by moving Chris Kreider. I think he's. Is it crazy to say he's kind of been their kind of best playoff performer over recent years?
Assuming that doesn't count goaltending.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Well, yeah, because you're not worrying about your goaltending. You're not worrying. You're not touching your goaltending. So goaltending, not even considered. Like, in terms of just your actual players in forward defense, I think Chris Kreider's kind of been your playoff stud.
It's him or Panarin for me. I know a lot of people.
I'm just giving it to Kreider because he scores big goals.
That's fair. That's fair. I know a lot of people say, Panarin's not a playoff guy and stuff, but like, you look at his stats, like, it was the 1 year when they got beat by the Devils, 2 assists in 7 games. That sucks.
But that was a Devils team that just completely overtook that series in the later half. Like, no one on the Rangers scored, but Chris Kreider, 3 years ago, 20 games, 10 goals, 16 points. The following year, 7 games. That was the year they lost to the Devils. He had 6 goals, 9 points in 7 games. And last year he had 16 goals, 16 games played. Sorry,
no way.
8 goals, 12 points. But he did, I believe, it ended up being in that hat trick when they made the comeback to knock out Carolina. Was huge, and Chris Kreider took over that game basically single-handedly.
Yeah, so you were reading those off while I was looking at Panarin's, and I think you're right. I think it's Chris Kreider.
I just don't think you move Kreider, man. Like, that's, even though he doesn't have the C, like,
he's got to be more of a lot
the leader in my eyes.
Trouba.
Yeah, like, and obviously you're not going to move an Adam Fox. You're not going to move a Panarin. You're not going to move a Lafreniere now. Zibanejad maybe, but he has that no move. So, is he going to waive that to leave New York and a Stanley Cup contend team? Probably not.
Yeah.
What do you do? Like, Trouba's the obvious one, but if no one wanted him in the offseason, no one wants him during the regular season now. I don't feel bad for him, though. I don't feel bad for the Rangers in this spot.
Oh, no.
I don't think anyone does.
No, they're not a team that gets people feeling bad very often. What's Zibanejad's contract? 8.5? You only get 6.5 if you move Kreider. Like, if they're doing this for cap reasons, like, I don't really think it's worth it to move Kreider. You're not going to make more use. You're not going to get more value. How much is Kreider making? 6.5. You're not going to get better value at 6.5
for a guy that's tucked 54 a couple years ago, and he scores 30 a year. That's great value.
Yeah. Zibanejad, you're getting 8.5. That's nice, but he's got that no move. The Rangers very purposefully make them such a desirable location. Like, how are you going to get him to waive that? Like, yeah.
Capo Kakko's actually had a very good year. I think I would put him now on my team Finland for Four Nations.
Yeah,
I don't know who I'd remove, but I would put Capo Kakko on there. I don't know
what do they do with that. Do they move him, or is he playing good enough that they keep him for now and at least use him for this year?
Kakko?
Yeah,
I think if you get the right offer, I think you still move him.
Yeah, honestly, I would.
Like, I'm not saying go out. Treat it like a year check. You're not going out there being like, well, I guess Columbus has made it known. But I think you take offers. You're not putting out offers with Kako, but you're like, hey, if someone gives us a good enough offer, we'd move them. And then I think you kind of see what
I might
rolls
be
in.
a little more aggressive than that. I might make a couple of calls and be like, maybe we'll talk to Capo Caco and let him know which team he would be going to if we moved him here, and like try and do like a bit of a sign and trade. I guess in this situation, extend and trade.
But the thing with Kako is especially because he's starting to kind of break out a bit more. 11 points, 19 games, and being a former second overall pick. You want to wait for offers to come in first because you want to know what teams value him at. Like you don't want to go out and be like, oh, we'll trade Kako for, a third round pick and a middle six forward, and then all of a sudden finding out a team would have been willing to pay a potentially like a strong contending team, maybe a first or something. Like I don't know if a team would, but I think with a guy like Kako, I think you got to wait and find out kind of what teams value him at first. Because it's so tough to tell, like, what would he go for?
Yeah, I think, you got to do your due diligence and make sure, like, drum up enough interest that teams, think there's a little bit of a bidding war, not aggressively, but enough that you'll get relatively realistic offers.
Yeah.
But I definitely think it's something they should explore because he's having a good season. I don't know if he's going to work out long term there. I really doubt it. And so,
especially with where the money's going, like if he keeps going on the pace he's at, or even a little bit more, he's not going to really fit in terms of money wise because you've got so much money tied up in your top guys. So
yeah, he's
DeAndre Miller's up for an extension, isn't he?
I think so.
He's having a rough year. 4 points, 19 games.
Yeah, that's not great.
-3. It's a big step back from what he was projecting to off the last 2 years.
They're getting really good goaltending, and none of their defense is doing very well. Fox is doing good, maybe not quite up to his standards, but he's doing, pretty good still.
I mean, we said, but like he's on pace for kind of around what he's at, like that 70-point range. Like Fox has never, last year actually was his first point per game. It was 73 and 72 games. So he's kind of on pace right now if he plays a full 82 to kind of still be around that 70.
But last year he also had
17 goals.
He had like 17 goals. Yeah,
he's got 0 so far,
which
this year. Yeah,
I mean, points are points, but
yeah,
you'd like it to not be a 0 in that category.
You'd like him to kind of put the puck in at least a couple times.
Yeah,
at least be at like 2 goals or something. Like what does Trouba have? Oh, Trouba actually has no goals. Never mind.
There you go.
Yep. So there's that news with the Rangers. We'll keep an eye on. Considering they're safely in a playoff spot and they're going to make the playoffs, I don't expect them to rush into making any moves.
No, I think
because you don't want to get burned on one. Offer. So yeah, they're just letting teams know that hey, we'd make a move if you give us a good offer.
Yeah. But is that everything? I think that's all we got.
That is, I believe that does wrap up everything.
Nice. Yeah, that was good. I don't know. We haven't even had like a break since our last episode, but for some reason it feels like a long time since we've recorded one of these. I'm still adjusting from my trip or something.
Yeah.
There's a lot like we're weirdly far into the season for some of the teams to still be doing as weird as they are. Like we're 21 games into the season. We're not really at the early stages anymore. It's like the Flames are just top of the Pacific. Like that's just where they are right now. Like they're 1 point behind Vegas now, I guess. But 27 points already. Like that's wild. The Sabres apparently have 23 points. Apparently they're on a 3-game win streak. Like there's
Sabres
all kinds of things that are weird.
Yeah, it's been a very good start to the year, and it's making a lot of these playoff races that we thought were kind of a lot more clear. Teams are starting to make it a little chaotic, and that's exactly what we were hoping for—a little more chaos in the mix.
Yeah, the Rangers are behind the Caps.
Yeah, the Capitals are a wagon, though. I've been saying that all along.
Yeah,
I've been a Caps truther since day one. Or
well, not since before. Yeah, I was gonna say not before the start of the season.
Well, can you blame me that
finishing 7th?
the PLD trade really put a sour taste in my mouth with them? But
Yeah.
everything else that they've done has worked wonderfully for them. So
yeah, didn't expect Dylan Strome to be better than Mikko Rantanen.
Yeah, exactly. But that does wrap up everything we have for this episode of the Stick 'em Up podcast. If you guys want to join on any of the conversations, make sure to look in the description on any episode. All the links to all of our socials, every single one, is in there now. That's about it. Braden, final thoughts before we wrap this up.
The Lightning play the Avalanche tonight, so I got to imagine Mikko Rantanen's going to have like a 12-point game. Really put the boots to me after what I've said today.
Yeah, he's out for a revenge game. So Mikko Rantanen,
it's gonna be a bad time. It's gonna be awesome.
Will drop at least a hat trick tonight, as he is on the charge for 60 goals. Once again, we do thank all of you guys for tuning in. We hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you guys out on the ice next Friday.